Alright, so what we're going to end up doing today is we're going to unpack and network set up our DGX Spark. And then what we're going to do is we'll make sure that we can connect through the terminal using an SSH. We will make sure that we can connect to VS Code. As you can tell that I'm connected SSH with my Spark 1897. So that is all set up. And then we'll set up the dashboard right here. And right now, we're also going to set up the Jupyter notebooks. And then I'm running a test right here just to test my system memory to kind of show you that the dashboard works. And if all that sounds good, let's get started. Is we're going to unbox and set up this DGX Spark. Yeah, normally I don't show packaging, but actually thought this was kind of nice. Just kind of sets in there so it will be secure and protected, and I just thought it was kind of the nicer packages I've seen in a bit. Alright, so I do like this. Has a nice little front end right there, and on the back what we have is we have the power, we have the USB ports, we have the HDMI port, and then we have over here we have the 10 gigabyte Ethernet port, and we got the QSFP port like right here. And this is pretty much it right here. And like I said, I bought this with my own money. No one gave this to me, so I'm talking about everything I say about this is gonna be on me. And what else is in the box? I'm talking about you just got your typical power. You got your power cord and your power brick. Pretty straightforward, not much there, so we just kind of plug it in. And then what I did is, like up here, like on the instruction manual, my hand's covering it up, but it has the hotspot SSID and the password and the link to kind of connect to it. So the instructions here, right, has two different ways to set this up. As a standalone device, where we plug in a keyboard and mouse and monitor and hook it up, or a network device. And what we're going to end up doing is we're going to set this up as a network device. Alright, so I do have this plugged in, and again, the first slot here is the power, and then I'm just going to plug it in on my shelf, and then it should boot up automatically. Alright, so I went ahead and plugged it in, hooked it up to my shelf, and I know I need to clean this up a little bit. But the only thing that's about this, it doesn't really have a power light, so I can't really tell if it's on or off. So I kind of wish it did have a little LED light on there to show me that it was on. But regardless, we'll hop back over the computer and go to the web page and set this thing up. Alright, so if you open up your web browser, we can type in http://spark-1897.local, and then all I got to do is run that, and that should bring me to my setup page. And it does not. Why? I did not set up my Wi-Fi, so let's do that now. So all I got to do is go down here in my search, and I can type in Wi-Fi settings, and then it's right here, Wi-Fi settings, and I just click on that, and I kind of come over here, and these are my Wi-Fi settings right over here. If I can bring that over, there we go. So here's my Wi-Fi settings, and I just hit show available network, and I have this hidden network. So I click on this hidden network, and I hit connect, and then what I do is I can type in my SSID and hit next, and then enter my password, which I'm going to do off camera. And I really didn't need to do it off camera because it's all blocked anyway. So let me hit next, and there we go. Then it brings up my internet over here, and I'm just gonna excuse me, close out that browser, and then I'm gonna try to run this locally now. And let's see. Oh, look at that! It just popped on up. So we're actually in our Spark now, and we can hit get started, and then we'll have English, and then we select the time zone. You can change yours to your language and hit continue. And, of course, you have your terms and conditions. Everybody reads that in detail, right? And we hit accept. And then we're going to create a new account for this device. And basically, we'll just have a username and the password. All right, so we went ahead and put in our username and password. We'll hit continue. And then, if I want to share data, I'm not going to. So I'm just going to hit continue. And then we're going to connect to the Wi-Fi, look for available networks, and I'll probably have to connect it to my main network. So I'll select my name and then a main network, and I'll have to enter my password, and you got to give me a minute because I got to look that up. All right, so I put my password, I'll hit join, and I'm just joining to the Wi-Fi network. And I'm just doing Wi-Fi for now. I'm talking about eventually I'll probably just plug it straight into the Ethernet and call it a day. But we'll just have to wait for this to configure. And it looks like it's getting there. Alright, so it says it's unable to join, and it says that I need to reconnect to the Spark 1897. And it says it will disappear once the connection to the Spark is reestablished. And it says if we don't see it, we can connect it to display keyboard and mouse to your device to continue. I don't really want to do that. I just want to do this completely through the network. So I'm going to have to reestablish my Wi-Fi. All right, so I just hit refresh on my page. I didn't really change any of the settings. I just hit F5 and refresh the web page just to kind of see if anything happens. And it looks like that it's automatically updating my Spark with the system updates. So let's see how that works out for us and see if we can log in after this. Because, this is downloading and installing system updates. So I know I'm connected to the internet with the Spark. So I guess that was like a little bug, and you just hit F5 and refresh it, and like I said, it just kind of went straight through. So I guess that message was a little bit kind of like confusing and stuff. I'm not going to question at this point. I'm just going to keep moving forward. So if you run into that same issue, just know just to refresh your page, and hopefully it will go through and work for you. Or you could do the keyboard and monitor method. But again, like I said, I just wanted to do this completely through the network. Alright, so it looks like it's rebooting from the updates, and it says setup is complete and it's ready for use. So let's just hit get started and see what happens. So there we are. We can start building on the DGX Spark. And again, I really don't know why it said it lost the connection. And I did go back in my Wi-Fi and I tried to enter back in, and it wouldn't connect. But I just refreshed the page and everything worked. So again, I'm not questioning at this point. It's set up. If you know why that happened, please leave the comments below, because I'm just a little bit kind of confused, because if it says it wasn't connecting, me hitting refresh and it went forward. But again, at this point, I'm not questioning it. Alright, so now that we're kind of set up, I'm going to show you how to do the remote access and the VS Code and the DGX Dashboard. And if you click on these, Configure Now, you have the overview, you have how to connect with the NVIDIA Sync, and then how to do the manual SSH for this one. And it has those instructions in there. Now if I go back, let me go back again here and go back to the page here, and I hit VS Code, and it again, same setup. It gives you direct or access with the NVIDIA Sync. Okay, and I'm going to go back again and look at the dashboard. If I click on the dashboard, it has the instructions here, and it will tell you that you have NVIDIA Sync down there, and it also gives you the manual option down here. Okay, so to keep it simple, what we're going to end up doing is we're just going to download the NVIDIA Sync. So to do that, I'll just start with the SSH and hit configure now, and I'll hit connect with the Sync, and I just hit this download button because it's already Windows detected. If you want to be a little bit more granular, you can hit this, and I have x86 or ARM. I know that my processor is an x86, so I can just hit download here as well. And hit download. It goes ahead and downloads the file. We'll go ahead and open the file. And then it will just start the installation. And it'll say, let's get started. You just hit agree. And then it's already recognized that I have my VS Code installed on my Windows box, and that's going to also allow me to connect to VS Code pretty easily. I'll just kind of remote into it with VS Code. I'll go ahead. I don't want to install cursor or any of these other information down here, so I'm just going to hit next. And then I'll have my name, my host name, my username and password, and I'll just go ahead and fill those out. Alright, so I do have this set up. I put my name for the DGX Spark, my host name, Spark-1897, and for me that's like .local, and then username and the password, and we just add this here, and it adds the device, and it says setup is successful, and we get started. And it will start the DGX Spark, and I'm going to switch to my other screen so you can see this. Alright, so here we are on the other screen, and I'll go down my tray bar and I'll hit the NVIDIA Sync, and it'll pop up, and that's my user directory in my Spark. So that's like your Ubuntu username right there. Now I can change my area where I want to kind of store that. I'm just going to keep it there for now, and I can hit terminal, and there it is. It's right there in the terminal, and I can just use like ls and kind of use my Linux commands just fine. I'm going to exit out of this. The next thing I want to show you is if we go back, I can go to VS Code, and I hit VS Code, and this is going to open up my VS Code, and I have my Spark 1897 1.local right here. So everything 1897.local right there, and I have all my information like right there, so I can actually create a folder and then just start coding. It's pretty much easy. So even though this Visual Studio is local on my machine, it's connecting through SSH to my Spark machine, so I can actually code here. Okay, so let me exit out of this, and the last thing I want to show you is let's set up this DGX Dashboard. So I'll click on that. Alright, so I'm back on my other screen, and I already put my username and password in, and I just hit confirm, and there it is. It kind of shows my dashboard. It says updates available, so let's just go ahead and hit update now, and hit update, and then it requires reboot. That's fine. We'll just hit update now, and then we'll just kind of update that dashboard, and it'll be downloading, installing the system updates, which is fine. And I'm just going to stop the video for you don't have to watch the green line kind of go across, and then I'll log back in once everything's done. As you can tell, it's rebooting the device, and it just gives you like a little bit of a warning here that it takes several minutes and it may reboot multiple times. That's fine. We'll just give it a minute and then we'll try again. Alright, so it rebooted, and I did have to reconnect to my NVIDIA Sync and bring everything up. Process pretty straightforward, and we have the dashboard up here. So we'll have like different settings, so the system's up to date. I can actually change my host name, which I'll probably change that later. And then we have like the different docs and everything else that we can read. And we have the forums and different resources. I'm going to go back to home here. And I'm going to start Jupyter Labs here and kind of see how that changes over here. So we have the output log kind of going in. And then we should be starting Jupyter Labs up here in a minute. Alright, so now that we have Jupyter Labs running, I can actually open this up in a browser. And if I go over here, I already created this untitled notebook right here, and I can double click on that, and I have like 2 codes already written up here. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to increase the system memory and look at the GPU utilization. Okay, that way we can actually test the dashboard. And I'll put these 2 code snippets in the description below, just for you guys can have them. So the first one, what we're going to do is we're going to increase this memory, and I'm going to increase it by 10 gigs. So if I just run this cell by hitting Shift Enter, we'll notice that our memory is increasing because we're running this command up here, and went up 10 gigs like it was supposed to. So that's pretty straightforward. Now down here, what we have, this is going to really increase the system memory, and it's going to show a little bit of the GPU utilization. So let's go ahead and run this and then see what happens to the system memory and the GPU. So if I run this, we notice that the GPU is using 3%, but the system memory is really going up, okay, because I really put those memory in there. And really, we used 100 gigs of memory up here, just to kind of show you how this works. So we know the GPU utilization works, and we know the system memory works. And this is just a good script to kind of test, both scenarios to make sure everything's working as intended. So now what I'm going to end up doing is I'm just going to go ahead and exit out of here and discard my changes. And you're like, well, wait a minute, we still have all this system memory. So this is one of the things that I don't really like about the notebooks, because it doesn't really kill the kernel, so you kind of keep that in the memory in the background. So I can just right click this and then hit shut down kernel, and then my memory will go back down. So see, it goes all the way back down. So it's not in memory anymore. So if you're opening up and using multiple notebooks, that could be an issue. Just remember to kill it when you're done, and that way you don't have to worry about it. And for me, I'm just going to stop my Jupyter Labs right now because I don't really need it. So I'm just going to stop it, and then that's pretty much it. I think we'll end the video here, and if you have any questions, just leave it in the comments below.